Hey guys, video mentor 4. So we left off, pizza shop's done, close the doors. I now spend the next couple of years, I've got my oregano business, so money's not, I don't need, I have money. I'm not worried about rent or any of that stuff. So at this point, I decided I'm going to try everything that comes my way. And I start taking jobs. Now, I'm not taking these jobs to have a job. I'm taking these jobs to see if this is something that I think will be profitable and something I want to do for the rest of my life. So the first one I take is working in a steel mill. And I work in a steel mill for about 2 months. And about 2 months into it, they offer me a permanent position and want me to come on and join the union and all that. And I quit because I didn't want to be in the steel industry. So the next I went to warehousing and I drove forklift. And I drove forklift all over this warehouse for about 3 weeks. And one day the boss started screaming at me and I set my stuff down and got off my forklift and I left. And that was warehousing. And the next one, this was a blast. I had a couple guys stop by my house looking for somebody once again, and they were carnies. And they invited me to join the carnival for the summer. So I did. And I took my oregano business to the carnival, and I ran a ride for 6 weeks on the carnival. The Ferris wheel, the ones that spin, Rocco planes is what they were called, and I had a blast. And I made ungodly amounts of money. Ungodly. Yeah, there was a lot of oregano being slung during that 6 weeks. It wasn't for me. I liked the life. I liked the people. I liked the Monopoly players. I liked how tight they were. I couldn't handle the living arrangements. I didn't want to be living in hotels and all that stuff. I had a good time, and it's something that there's a lot of money in that industry. People don't know that, but don't ever think that those guys behind those games that they're hurting for money, because in my day, I knew guys that were making $700-800 a day on those games. So running the games. Now, I'm not even talking about the guy who owned it. I studied the industry for quite a while. There was a guy that owned the carnival locally, and he was pretty cool. He took me in, kind of showed me how everything worked, and it just wasn't for me. So I'm bumbling around, and I get into construction, which is in the first series of videos. But long story short, in case you didn't see those, guy stops by my house looking for a ground man, took a job as a ground man, worked for 6 months, people yelling at me, or you guys yelling at me all the time, 2 partners get in a fight in the front yard, fist fight, one partner puts me in his truck, he never talked to me, says, listen, I see you're doing really well, I see, you got a head on your shoulders, I got to get out of the business, here's my truck, here's my tools, walks me into the contractor starts giving me jobs. I'm doing jobs. I'm horrible in the beginning, literally. The first 2 or 3 people's houses that are done, I'm sorry. I'm literally sorry. I'm sure 2-3 years later, everything fell off. I literally believe that. So I'm plugging along, and about a year into it, I get a phone call, and it's Dave. And Dave has decided he wants to come out of retirement, and he wants to go be partners with me. So, of course, I say yes. And Dave and I launch into a partnership for about the next 2 years. And we make really good money. We do. We work very well together. It was actually just him and I. We didn't even have a ground man or nothing. We would just go, and he would do his part, and I would do my part, and we would clean up our own stuff, and that was that. I'm going to tell you what mentor number 4 taught me, and this was one of the most important lessons for me in business. Prior to this conversation Dave and I had about 4 or 5 months into being partners, I was a wake and bake guy. I worked construction, okay? So I got up and we smoked on the way to work, and every break we smoked, and on the way home we smoked, and that's what we did. And then we worked, because it's manual labor, man, it doesn't, I want you to understand something. There's no construction out there unless you get into real big commercial construction. There's no residential really that requires any rocket science involved, okay? Yes, the engineer, the architect, all those guys, but once the workers get there, dude, seriously, this is not a high IQ driven thing. So I'm smoking, and one day we're alone. He says, listen, he goes, you're really good. He goes, you could be really great. He goes, we're losing money because you smoke so much pot. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, I'm not going to do this with you. He goes, but he was older. My partners were almost always older than me. They were always like at least 8 to 10 years older than me, so that they brought experience that I didn't have. So he says to me, I'll tell you what, he goes, I'll bet you $500 that if you go 30 days without getting high while you work, we'll make more money. And I'm always about money. So I do it, and I go 30 days, and we made $1,100 more that month. And that was the last time I ever smoked weed when I was working. It never happened again. I never picked the habit back. I mean, I'm not telling you I quit smoking weed, because I love smoking weed. I'd smoke weed. That's the first thing I do when I got out of work, and I hit my car. But I learned that when you're playing Monopoly, okay, no matter what level you're playing at, you need all your wits about you when you're making money and counting money. So if you're a person that likes to wake and bake, or have a couple cocktails for lunch, or whatever it is you do to alter your perception, you're not helping the game. And I wasn't helping mine. And it all changed. Like, I learned that from him, and I'll always owe it to him. What else did he teach me? Nothing. He was the second partner that taught me that partners are kind of crappy, and that they're temporary. These aren't marriages. These are dating. Maybe going steady. Let's call it that. When you're partners with somebody, you're going steady. But you're not married. You are not married. You can split up anytime you want. Know that. Remember that. It's super, super important. Don't stay with a bad partner any longer than you absolutely have to. As soon as you can get out and move on. There's too many people out there that can be your partners, and we'll get into limited partners later on. That's the key. The key is to not be 50-50 partners with anybody. Have a couple of 10% partners, 15% partners. You own 50, or you own 70, and they own 15 and 15. That way there's no arguments. But Dave taught me, go into playing Monopoly always with a straight mind. Just exactly like the best professional poker players. You never see them drink at the table. So we'll get on to Mentor 5 in the next one. Peace.